Welcome once again here to another group stage game for the Join Dota League season number 5. It is the Asian Division Awake versus Burster going up against each other in these two games. Well, I have no idea who to even just pick as the favorites here. Awake, if it was like 4 or 5 months back, I would choose them for sure, but now it's a little bit harder. They've had really unstable performances. But in any case, we're HeflaTV. I'm Coucher, once again joined by Mike Lores, and well, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well right now, and yeah, as you said, Wake, you could just see looking at their team right now, they are running with a lot of stand-ins, and well, I recognize some of these guys. I'm not really the person who's most familiar with the Asian scene, but these stand-ins should pose quite a problem for Awake, so it might not really affect them too much, and I hope that it doesn't, since no one really likes to see another team get raffle stomped because they just don't have a proper lineup, but hopefully it's all going to be fine enough so that we could have even games.
Yeah, hopefully so as Burster. Just a quick check. Never mind, they don't have anybody disconnected. There are two disconnected players on a Wake side though, but I don't think any of those was the drafter, but they took a slightly longer time for the first ban. Usually like the first bans are rather straightforward, don't have to think too much about it, but Brewmaster getting banned in the end. I think Brewmaster probably is like one of the heroes getting banned the most often, it feels like.
Yeah, it's either him getting banned or I think he's also ignored a lot just because you have people wanting to ban out Io, Axe, Juggernaut, Troll, like those types of heroes. And then teams just like want to grab the Vengeful Spirit after that. And then Brewmaster kind of is forgotten, or at least, till the fourth or fifth pick. So banning him out early, I think, is still warranted. He is just such a powerhouse hero if you get a decent early start, and it's very easy to get that early start. So it's also here that kind of requires your team to build crowd control, and sometimes you just don't want to be forced into that.
Yeah, it's definitely true, but Awake themselves banning out the Axe. Axe maybe not as reliable as a Brewmaster is in getting farm and just accomplishing something, but definitely a strong enough hero. Once you get the ball rolling, it's so hard to stop a team with Axe. Just blink Berserker's Call. It's just the fact that you can set up kills so very often. That's like the biggest strength of the Axe, I think. But maybe we're gonna even see some support bans, who knows. Other than that, Juggernaut definitely a hero that is quite often banned out. Maybe even a Broodmother up against some teams. Against the Wake, maybe a Meepo, although as it's not banned, well, I highly doubt to be honest that we're gonna see a first phase Meepo anyway, just because it would give too much time for the enemy to counter that.
You very rarely see first phase Meepos, at least not anymore. You used to see teams occasionally going for that when they just feel like instantly winning, like old BBC. But aside from that, grabbing him early means that you are going to have so many counters on the other end. And Meepo is a hero with probably the easiest counters as far as picks are concerned. So, yeah, banning out the Juggernaut seems pretty reasonable. This is like one of the slowest drafts that I've ever seen. Phoenix ban, that's got to be a respect ban that I just don't know about. Otherwise, you don't really have to fear the Phoenix too much.
Somehow, just most of the games I've casted in the past week or so for the just Asian division of Join Dota League, all of the drafts are freaking slow. I don't know why. Maybe they're taking things more seriously, thinking things through, and they're like, hey, there's reserved time for a reason for us. I know maybe they're experimenting with actually using that time, who knows. Burster though, they still have first pick now. Pathfinder could be a good first pick if the Vengeful was banned, but otherwise, if not, it's like almost a 100% Vengeful Spirit pick after that. But Shadowfin first pick, so DAC metagame, here we come.
Yeah, I like how we're taking so long for these picks and bans, and then ultimately, well, with the exception of Phoenix, we end up in a very, very standard spot. So, Shadow Fiend is the first pick. He is a very powerful hero. He does do a truckload of damage, and I actually like how people are building him really tanky nowadays. If you complement him with any sort of damage amplification at all, like a Vengeful Spirit, or go deep for a Drow Ranger, then he gets just nuts out of control. So as a first pick, it will be possible for Awake to slow down the Shadow Fiend, and that is mostly going to happen in lanes with aggressive rotations from Eventual Spirit +1, or just having a stronger laner in general.
Yeah, and well, just Batroid definitely a great hero to grab together with the Vengeful Spirit, especially considering that suddenly you have the counter to the Batrider as well on your own team. I mean, there are more heroes that can deal with the Batrider, but none of them are just as good, I think, in it. Disruptor is decent-ish with the Glimpse. so that might come out. Although I don't think Burster will go for like a direct Batrider counter or anything like that. They might just go for heroes that, for example, maybe go for Death Balls, make it so the Batrider can't really work his pick of magic as easily. That Burster are just going to be grouped up and going for towers, something like that. At the moment though, they could pick anything, even like Troll Warlord, maybe pick an offlaner for themselves, Tide, Centaur, anything. Or just, who knows, Witch Doctor. It's almost impossible to call what they're gonna pick. I mean, if it's a team that you've casted like God knows how many times, yes, you may have some idea, but I have no clue what Burster is gonna do.
Yeah, and even when it is just like a team that you see all the time, the first two or the first two picks, like after a response to the first two picks, the second one is usually going to change quite a bit unless, there's a combo that they're going for. And CM's Shadow Fiend isn't necessarily that combo. I mean, it's fine. I guess if you have extra mana, you get to spam more raises, but this isn't really the strongest of combinations as far as, your first two picks are concerned. So landing on the Crystal Maiden ultimately going to mean that Burster have the possibility of either going super aggressive or playing rather defensive with this hero and just throwing her towards the jungle. As far as countering the Batrider, she's decent if you're quick on the Frostbite, but there are better tools.
There definitely are, but Crystal Maiden, I have to say I've seen quite a bit of her recently. I'm not too sure if it's actually people starting to figure out that Crystal Maiden, hey, he's actually pretty strong. Double nuke early on, freezing fields, if used correctly in the correct position and it doesn't get cancelled, it's a huge damage output as well. And Arcane Aura, Shadowfiend can definitely benefit from that. Shadow Race is fairly low cooldown, 3 of them to spam of course, so extra mana regen will be helpful for him. And Crystal Maiden also as a support can jungle somewhat, isn't reliant on jungling as much as maybe like a Sand King would, but it's just a small benefit if your support can make use of the jungle.
Yeah, so I think between being able to jungle the CM, being able to do that, and also being a support hero that demands an answer in the later stage of the game is what makes her pretty nice. And like, not to mention her early game potential, which is also freaking huge. But normally, if you see enemy supports on the other end, it's like a disruptor. If he launches a static storm already, then well, you don't really have to kill him anymore since he's not going to be doing anything. Vengeful Spirit, you would like to kill her off, but really, there's no pressing need to. With the CM, once she drops her ultimate, you gotta kill her or stun her or something. And if you're saving one form of crowd control for the enemy's random support hero, well, that's a pretty deep investment just to make sure that you just don't die straight out. And it's an investment that you have to make. So CM, as far as that is concerned, is a very powerful hero. Of course, the downside is she is slow. So slow. And, well, maybe she'll get picked apart by this Batrider, but we'll see. As Burster, they're going to ban out the TA and Medusa, and Awaker going to ban out the Troll. Very, I guess, similar bans on either side, just taking care of those mid to late game heroes.
Yeah, and at the moment, I guess there's a tiny chance that Burster might be aiming for a Draw Ranger. Already having 2 ranged heroes is fine. Of course, up against the Batrider may be a little bit hard because Throw doesn't want anybody getting close to her. But Broodmother in the end is the ban for Awake. I guess Shadow Fiend with the raises is decent-ish already against the spiders. Maybe not the greatest because the spiders move pretty fast. Might get behind you and whatnot, but it's just a hero that is so annoying to deal with. No matter, even if you have like a direct counter, early on in the laning phase, you're still gonna have to have supports in the lane dealing with the Broodmother.
Yeah, and most of the counters for Broodmother are just very early counters. Like you'll have an axe or something, and or a Tide Hunter or a Sand King, and those will do fine for a little while. But once the Soul Ring comes up and the spam really starts getting going, then it's hard to stay in lane just because she has infinite mana and infinite health. Good luck. And she also has a nuke to use that infinite mana. So it is a ban that I think many teams make just because it will be very inconvenient for them to fight the Broodmother. And I think it's so inconvenient that it is warranted at some points. And of course, sometimes she just doesn't do anything. If you sit on her lane, if you always have Batrider with a Blink Dagger and Dust right nearby, she won't really be doing that much. But she is just such an annoyance. And she warps the game, really. And that's really where the problem comes to.
Yeah, and the Wake now themselves. Picking up a Lion, also definitely a flavor of the month support. Does have a great skill set on him though. Double disables, Earthspike, as well as the Hex. Earthspike level 1, maybe not as great, but Hex definitely makes up for that 2.5 second disable from the first level. Thank God it doesn't do damage, because that would be just straight out broken, to be honest. But then also Mana Drain to help him sustain those spells. Getting the Finger of Death. Early on maybe a slightly longer cooldown, but that nuke is massive. I do believe it's 600 damage on the level 1, right?
It's, yeah. And of course you get 25 magic resistance, so not necessarily 600, but it does a hell of a lot. And when you're talking about CM and Shadow Fiend on the other end, yeah, you probably will have enough to kill them off, assuming your level 6 isn't delayed by years and years. But with Awake having Lion and Vengeful Spirit, they can go around and pick fights with the Crystal Maiden and Shadow Fiend pretty darn easily. Clockwork is more on the tanky side, so as far as killing him off, they're going to have to work a little bit harder. But it is certainly very possible with just the sheer amount of crowd control that Awake have right now.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. I mean, at least Clockwork also can benefit quite nicely from that Arcane Aura, so that helps. But Awake, for example, against the Batrider, Clockwork isn't that great because you can just Firefly out of the cogs. Other than that, though, Vengeful Spirit and Lion, if you get cogged and there's Battery Assault, what are they gonna go do? I guess Vengeful Spirit could swap somebody else in. That can work every now and then, but it's just not gonna be a fun time for the supports if the Clockwork even gets remotely close to them.
Yeah, the supports really can't do that much except for panic throw their skills out. Sometimes it'll work out. Well, there's a hero that can be a little bit more resistant to those cogs. You just jump out of them, or you Dark Pact and then man fight the Clockwork. And when you aren't going to be hit, you're usually going to have a decent time. So Awake going to grab that Slark could be the mid lane hero for them, or could also just be a safe lane protected farmer. As far as Slark, Lion, Vengeful Spirit is concerned, they're probably going to go up against a Clockwork in lane, and that is not a fun lane for the Clockwork. The harassment is going to be really high, and the kill potential is just as high, if not higher. So it's a hero that's going to demand Burster, grab more CC, and Lion, Vengeful Spirit, those are usually the ones that you want to go to when you're trying to deal with the Slark. Disruptor might... Well, there it is. Okay, there you go.
At least you got it out just before it was picked, so...
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, you're getting up, ramping it up to that one hero, and they pick it before, and then try to just make everybody believe that you totally were about to say that hero, but
Dude, I was
you got it
totally
out.
going to say that hero.
Yeah, it's like, I swear I was thinking about that one, but you got it out, and was picked as well. Definitely a good hero, also does work up against the Batrider reasonably well with the Glimpse. But if you get caught, if you get pounced upon, still rather squishy. I mean, not as squishy as the Crystal Maiden probably, but might not have too easy of a time. But Burster now, I mean, you can expect Shadowfiend to go mid lane, as always. So for Burster, Anti-Mage is already banned. What hero may they even go for as their like own hardcore, the safe lane farmer?
I think they probably can get away with going for something that's super defensive, like a Spectre, if they really want to. It's always going to be a little bit questionable as to whether or not you want to do that, just because she does have her inherent weaknesses of being able to do absolutely nothing early on, and it might be a little bit too greedy. So definitely going for a carry who's more on the hard end, I think, should be preferable for Buster, but they have the luxury of waiting a little while longer to see what Awake fully have, and well, right now they could assume Batrider's going to be on the off lane, but that might not necessarily be the case. It could very easily be a Slark, Lion, Venge offensive tri-lane, and that's still not that fun. Ooh, that's a old face, and therefore a new face.
I mean, Tinker, it can work out for sure. Farming on that hero is a little bit harder now. You're gonna have to use the jungle a hell of a lot more than just go for Ancients. But with the supports roaming around, they can stack it up, but then again, they also have the Batrider to farm those up. So we might have like 20 minutes of stacking going on with everybody farming the jungle, everybody wanting a piece of that. But with this Tinker now, unless the Tinker really has a decent game, it's gonna be fine. But Disruptor is decent in dealing with the Tinker, although Tinker is one of the better heroes to get Glimpse back, because he can rearm, Boots of Travels back in once again. But it's just, maybe this Slark is gonna have to go too much into the one position. We'll see how much the Tinker will be able to just help out there.
Yeah, I like what Burster are doing with their last pick. I just said that they were probably going to go for something a little bit more as a hard carry, but seeing a Tinker on the other end means that unless you're going for like a Naga Siren, then you're probably just going to get perma-hexed and then, you know, perma-dagoned, and that's just not fun. Laser also is just a pain in the ass to deal with. So instead, they're going to put on the aggression a little bit earlier and try to get a lot of pressure going onto the Awake side before Tinker gets his travels and before Batrider gets his Blink Dagger. It's going to be difficult as Clockwork needs his level 6 before he's really going to get going. Disruptor and CM are not really the most dangerous support heroes to have on your side, but between the Viper damage and Shadow Fiend damage, Burster, they're going to try to get under Awake's lineup before they really get going. And if that works out for them, then a farmed Viper and a farmed Shadow Fiend with the initiation power of a Clockwork can just win them the game if they shut Awake down this early.
Yeah, it's still going to be somewhat hard. I mean, Awake's lanes, it's not like they're weak by any means, I think. Tri lane is pretty damn strong. They might even leave behind an aggressive tri lane if they really want to, of Lion Venge and the Slark. But to introduce lineups fast, so for Burster on the Radiant side, Ian will be playing the Viper, leaving VR Cut on the Disruptor with Crazy on the Crystal Maiden. Jian, sexy voice, playing the Shadow Fiend, and the last is going to be Ion on the Clockwork.
Well, we might not have that much time to introduce the Awake side. They're going to be wrapping around each other. Right now, Awake currently hidden, and I think Viper might be the one to be on the receiving end of this, because you don't expect the entire lineup to be in this easy camp right here. Boom is going to be playing the Slark with Noxum on the Lion. Toy is going to be on the Tinker, and we got Yotu on the Vengeful Spirit. That leaves Diva on the Batrider. They will leave that easy camp, and well, that'll force everyone from Busters to fall back.
I do believe Diva is the only one I haven't seen ever play for Awake. Noxum was there before. Toy, I think, used to play with them as well a couple of months back. So they're just switching things up, but at least some of the players, although they are stand-ins for now, at least they have had some previous synergy or some previous practice with the team. So it makes things a little bit better, but even so, just you never want to play with stand-ins, even if they are former team members.
Alright, so taking a look at the lanes, we got Disruptor Viper as a dual lane for right now, going to go up against just a Batrider. Fortunately for the Bat, he does have boots first, so he will have a lot of movement speed versus this Viper. Shouldn't really be harassed too much. But Ian, if he grabs a Magic Stick, and I'm pretty sure seeing the opposition, he will grab a very fast one, then this Viper is just going to be uncontested in lane, and there's not really that much you could do about it as the Batrider.
And it's just Viper is such a dominant laner in almost any matchup. I don't think there are too many heroes that could straight out win a lane against the Vipers, because Poison Attack, Nether Toxin, even Corrosive Skin as well makes it so hard for you to try to harass him in return. At the moment though, Disruptor, I mean Batrider himself at least won't have to be too scared about dying until Disruptor hits, I think maybe like level 3 with a level 2 Glimpse. Level 1 Glimpse otherwise usually is too weak.
Yeah, especially when you're going up against a hero with boots, the odds of you closing the distance and actually casting that glimpse is so astronomically small that that's probably not even worth your time. So bottom lane, Batrider's doing fine for now, but once Viper gets a couple more levels, then it'll be a lot worse. Especially once the Viper gets a lot more levels, then the CM will also be a little bit more ready to leave the jungle. Taking a look at some of the other lanes, we have a Tinker versus Shadow Fiend matchup here. It shouldn't be terrible for either side. Shadow Fiend being inherently weak as far as his health pool is concerned. Really got to worry about this Tinker, especially since Tinker might go for a little bit more of an aggressive build with Laser Missile instead of standard March build, or I guess what used to be standard March build. So the Shadow Fiend is going to be on the receiving end of quite a lot of nuke damage. It won't be enough to 100 to 0 him, but it will be enough to kill him off, assuming anyone else on the Awake side comes in.
I would really like to see the combat build with the laser and rockets, just because imagine a Crystal Maiden dead every single time. I think Crystal Maiden should go down to the entire combination. I mean, at the moment, sitting on 473 HP. Depends on how much farm Crystal Maiden gets from the jungle. He might get like an early bracers or something to tank up, but most of the time it's just like tranquil boots into buying a crap ton of wards. And in this game, I think Disruptor probably will play the 4th position and Crystal Maiden just sitting in that hard 5.
Yeah, I think that's probably how it's going to go down. Well, we'll see what this Tinker actually wants to do. He's gone for 1 skill point and everything, 2 in the laser. So what he's doing right now isn't necessarily going to be clear. But yeah, we'll see. If he does go for a kind of combat build with the laser and rocket, then his Boots of Travel farm is going to be probably a little bit later. It really depends on how much action he gets going around the map, and that will involve ganking the bottom lane, which is going to be fairly difficult. Then we have up towards top lane, Clockwork, who is being poked and prodded to no end. And it's probably just going to be a free farm lane for the Slark. Maybe so much so that he's going to grab a Midas.
Yeah, I mean, Midas definitely a good item on a carry such as Slark. Can make great use of the levels, getting higher points into Essence Shift. And of course, more Shadow Dance means easier escapes, because the percentage increases by quite a lot. I mean, your health regen is absolutely ridiculous if you get it. And if you get the Midas fast enough, it's really not going to set back your other item progression at all. Maybe like, you're going to get the blink minute, maybe 2 later, but usually that's not that big of a deal at all.
Yeah, so right now we're going to have a relatively passive landing phase, although Jan going strong onto Toy with a couple raises, landing. Third one, not quite going to do it. That was like 15 HP, I think, on the Tinker, but with all 3 raises landing, Tinker is, well, you probably don't really count on all 3 raises landing. When they do, this is the prioritized skill for the Shadow Fiend with his right clicks. He is a full-on glass cannon now, even more so than a Tinker.
Yeah, it's just Tinker. If he didn't have an alt talisman, he would just have died. Yes, it only gives you free strength, but those free strength very important for him for now. But he will be able to grab a rune, I think. Noxum though might be in trouble. One raise, he gets hexed up, the Shadow Fiend. Magic Missile will follow, heat-seeking missiles as well. They won't have enough damage without the laser, or will they? Earth Spike, a few more right clicks, and that's gonna be first blood. For a second I thought Lion might lose his own life with one more Shadow Raise hitting, but they just managed to lock him down for long enough.
I have no idea why the Shadow Fiend even tried that. He walked like about here, and then the smoke blew on the Lion. And there's an Observer Ward literally right on top of the Lion, and I'm pretty sure he also knew that if the Lion is smoked up, then probably the Vengeful Spirit is smoked up as well. Yet he decided to fight that 1v2 against a hero that could also contribute with the heat-seeking missile. So Jan making a really, really terrible decision. Unfortunately for him, he has lots of raise levels, so his ability to accrue his souls back is going to be fairly easy, but and you just walked into death when you could have easily avoided it because you saw it coming.
Definitely a little bit weird. Maybe it was a little bit on tilt with not having gotten the Tinker kill before. And, well, funny enough that he almost got the first blood, but like a minute later, maybe a little bit less, gave away first blood himself. But like you said, he has the Shadow Raises, can easily get the souls back. Was farming up a double stack in the jungle at the moment. And that's the one good thing about the Shadow Fiend. Even if you die, you can so easily recover. And also now, there's a smoke from Awake. There's 2 supports coming in, 1 point into each skill for Disruptor so far. So they have to get in range of Toy, but there is the March of the Machine, so they're gonna have to be so careful. Crazy, he's even gonna die, I think, to the tower. Yes, Crystal Maiden dies, Toy gets the kill. That's how a gank should not look like.
Yes, when you're only talking about crowd control from a Crystal Maiden, she does have boots, I suppose, so it's not really the worst, but it's not really what you want to be doing when the Tinker is very far to the left, so you have to walk through the tower range, and they didn't even like fully commit. They didn't even try to like slide around to the low ground or anything. They just walked in, realized that they were dying, and then walked out. But probably the worst thing to happen on the mid lane just happened twice for Burster, as they're still going to just not get anything. And well, now the Tinker really doesn't have to go for a battle build because he's kind of getting free farm and hero kills. Up towards top, Ewan is going to be in a little bit of trouble. Jump forward from Boom. Magic Missile still being held. They don't even need it. They'll kill off the Clockwork without. And now Boom, well, he isn't going to go for a Midas build, but either way, he's going to be very dangerous.
Oh, certainly so. And I guess you can still go for a slightly later Midas as well. Maybe just wanted to make sure that when the Crystal Maiden comes in with the double nuke, you're not going to just die immediately, power turrets. Definitely not too bad. But like maybe a blink. I guess you can even try to go for a Shadow Blade, although that definitely isn't the preferred build for me, but every now and then Shadow Blade just works wonders. I think mostly, at least these days, it's picked up when a Doombringer is on the enemy team just to get the Shadow Blade, then get doomed, but still be able to run away, for example.
Yeah, so it's either way, it's going to be 3-0 still for Awake. Boom is going to be kind of just like a hidden wrecking ball right now. I mean, he does know that, or the Buster side do know that the Clockwork. My God. Okay, English. The Clockwork does know that the Slark is getting a lot of farm, but because the Slark is not going for any like super aggressive roaming plays or anything like that, they might not realize that this Slark is going to be their biggest problem. They might think the Tinker is their biggest problem, and I think to an extent they would be correct. But right now, Burster have not really done anything in this game except for farm a little bit on their Viper and Shadow Fiend. And these are heroes that you really need to have dominating their lanes. That's just not happening.
At least finally there's a nice creep wave coming towards the Clockwork, so he's gonna get quite close to the level 6 after this one. But compared that to Batterer, who is already level 6, up to 1.2k gold as well. Did farm up, I do believe it was a triple stack in the big camp in the jungle. But now gets himself a regen rune. What a good one to get as well. Firefly, not gonna activate it though. But is there, or are there any stacks? Nope. Just, do we have a Midas? No, a Frostbite onto the Satyr. So they're farming it up. Batterer is close by, but not gonna go for anything as mid lane. They're gonna get the stun onto the Shadow Fiend. Not enough follow-up damage though. I mean, March of the Machines, all well and good, but it wasn't cooldown for now. So Shadow Fiend does escape. And Shadow Fiend, is he number 1 in net worth? Yes, he is. Has the most last hits, but even with his death, still managing to be number 1. Viper, close second, but after that, it's pretty much all Awake.
Yeah, and Awake, their Batrider, right now not farming, but actually scouting out the jungle situation of Burster. So he knows that there are no stacks in the Radiant jungle right now, and that's pretty good to know if you're the Batrider. It means that the Shadow Fiend, what you see is pretty much what you get. He's not going to get a huge chunk of gold out of nowhere, so Batrider's going to be pretty happy about that. The entire Awake side are going to be pretty happy about that, as right now they're just sitting pretty. The Tinker has a Soul Ring already, and he's very, very close to those travels. And Burster, I don't think they're really going to try to mess with this Tinker. If they do, then the Vengeful Spirit's right there. But, well, so far, messing with the Tinker has not led into good things for the Burster side. So this Tinker is going to have probably one of the most easiest starts you can possibly get. Down towards bottom lane, though, took a glimpse back onto D.Va. Shackle, or the lasso is there onto Ian just to prevent a little bit of that right-click damage. But the Batrider will go down here. CM stealing that one. And that's a kill. So a kill on a Batrider who is holding on to quite a bit of gold is always a nice kill to take.
Most certainly so, and I think had the Crystal Maiden not come in, there was a tiny chance that Viper himself might have died. If you're a Batrider and you have like 4 stacks of sticky napalm on somebody, and you have Firefly activated, you can just circle around them without them being able to just keep up. But of course, Crystal Maiden came in with the Crystal Nova. Even without that, I think he might have died before anyway with the Viper Strike and the Thunder Strike on him. But at least he could have tried a little bit more. Still, only 1 kill for Burster. Awake, still looking nice. Boom, getting the farm up to 2.1k gold. Definitely saving up for something. Whether it's a blink or not, we're gonna find that out in the next minute probably.
And he's very close to it. It will depend on this final creep camp as to what item he's going to go for. But going for that one, probably going to be your best bet. It'll just let you be a lot more aggressive right now and buy a lot more space. Together with the Tinker, you're going to be pushing out all lanes and threatening all lanes. So Burster are going to have to be very careful with who they send to any individual lane, because suddenly there will be a traveling Tinker and a blinking Slark at the exact same time, and that blink dagger is going to be used immediately up on top lane. Uyan is going to die very quickly to the Finger of Death. Boom, stuck in the cogs, but he will dig his way out. That is probably the easiest kill you could take. Knocks him, delivering with that level 6.
What? 11
What?
minute blink dagger for Noxum. That's crazy. Bottom lane though, Batrider in some trouble again. This time around, he's gonna lasso VR Cat. Maybe Viper has enough damage anyway. Blink, Burst Spike, nice stun onto Viper as well. They have the physical damage. They're gonna bring down Ian. D.Va does survive. Toy made it to the party, but too late. Still 2 nice kills for them. Batrider survives with like 20 HP. And Ian, he went for a Hand of Midas on the Viper. What do you make of that item choice?
It's fine because he has had such a great early game. The problem is that they haven't slowed down Awake at all, so it's just going to be, at this point, kind of a recovery Midas. And that's kind of weird to say for...
So, Ian on the Clockwork managed to cog him in. I assume he did get the block on the pounce as well, so he couldn't get out of the cog. So that's a nice kill for Clockwork. Some extra gold, but... like you mentioned, they haven't slowed them down. Awake, they literally have every single key item that they needed to just start taking entire control of the game.
And a blink dagger on Lion. Like, we were both just freaking amazed that he had this item. I guess they just haven't bought that much vision, so, or the Vengeful Spirit isn't buying all the vision, but still, you're not supposed to have a 12-minute or a 11-minute blink dagger on a support. Hell, if you're Batrider, you're pretty happy to have it by that time if you have a rough lane.
The
so.
Batrider got it like half a minute or a minute later.
Yeah, and now they're going to use that blink dagger down towards bottom lane. Surprise, we got double blinks, and your Viper is going to be pretty dead right now. Dude, what are you supposed to do against this? Like, the Tinker's going to have one soon, I'm pretty sure. They're going to blink forward, looking for a lasso. They're going to catch one onto the Crystal Maiden. A little bit of sticky napalm there. Boom, going to get hit with the Static Storm, but there's no follow-up damage to that. He's going to charge right through it and look for the pounce. Will land it as well, kill up the Disruptor. This game is getting out of control for Burster. Oh, wait, Shadow Fiend's also in the area. Does he want to party? Looks like he doesn't. So everyone else from Awake going to back off, but the initiation range of Awake right now is so obscene. And when you're talking about having a Shadow Fiend on your team, that's the worst possible scenario.
It's also Shadow Fiend at the moment. He was losing like almost a minute's worth of farming time. He's still number 1 in net worth, but he TP'd from the mid lane all the way through bottom lane, I believe, and now had to run back into the jungle. Does have his Yule Scepter finished though, so that's something positive. There is quite a bit to dodge, to be honest, from Awake. Maybe if you're really clutch, you can even get rid of a Finger of Death, for example, but... how likely is it that he's going to be able to use it aggressively to set up a Requiem of Souls here?
But I think it's actually pretty likely. The odds of him getting not punished, though, very low. He is going to escape death for right now. Boom still in that Shadow Dance is going to get out of the kinetic field, and Janjan's going to live for right now. Noxum going to launch Finger Death right into a Blade Mail, and will kill himself because of it, but they will still take the Clockwork down. D.Va going up to the high ground. Should be fine as long as he just backs on out. But that was, well, Yule Scepter value right there. I thought they would still get the kill with March, but the machines were just a little bit too far away.
I was so sure as well, but that Blade Mail with the Finger of Death, Lion did not expect that one coming out. I mean, Clockwork didn't have the greatest of starts, so maybe didn't expect the Blade Mail to be there this early. But thank God for the Clockwork, it was still died, but in the end, Awake lose 2, Bursters only lose 1, although, oh, Pounce doesn't connect, but Dark Pact gets the kill with the Rockets. They get Crystal Maiden, although Yule Scepter is there on himself, to maybe want to target Boom, not entirely sure. But no massive Requiem coming out with this. Shadow Razes do connect 2 of them, but Noxum blinks in. Earthspike does completely miss Requiem of Souls. Nope, he cancels the channeling of it. Too many March the Machine Slayers there.
Yeah, it's a shame for Noxum missing that Impale. If he'd landed that with the Martian Machines and with Slark regenerating right around the corner, they could have probably killed off Jan without too many casualties. Maybe they lose one hero, but you're killing off the enemy Shadow Fiend, most likely going to be worth it. Either way, Awake with their 4 Blink Daggers up. Yep, 4 Blink Daggers, 14 minutes in, and they're making pretty good usage of said item. It is possibly problematic if you invest a lot into Blink Daggers and you don't actually do anything with them. It's a lot of net worth, a lot of chunks of 2,000 gold that are just sitting there in your inventory not doing anything. But they clearly have game plans to push, and, well, Tinker's always going to get value out of it. Batrider and Slark probably have already gotten value out of it. Lion as well, so the investment is surely paying off, and now they're going to try to initiate down towards bottom. This is probably where the blinking team is at its weakest, when they are going into a cluster of 5 heroes behind a tower. So you could blink in, but you don't really want to blink in.
They might get Clockwork if they see him. They do have vision of him with this Observer Ward, but not too many heroes close by. Noxum didn't have the Finger of Death either, otherwise maybe even with the supports being there, or well, Slark plus Lion could have gone for it. Still, it's time that Burster is kind of wasting at the same time as well. They were grouped up, they weren't farming, so for Awake, like I said, it's hard for them to initiate into it, but they just don't farm up the lanes. I mean, Tinker can always push out the other lanes and get advantage from that. Does have a point booster in the inventory now. I am so hoping for that Aghanim Scepter, but probably Bloodstone.
I'm pretty sure this thing is cut off, so I'm pretty sure that's not 6% and 7%. They're going to catch the Batrider in the jungle with that Yule Scepter. D.Va does not have Firefly either, so he is completely screwed. That's going to be 1 casualty for the Awake side. Burster, they kind of went away from the Batrider, who showed himself in the bottom lane, but meantime, Yotu is going to get hookshot in by Ian. Magic Missile is going to be held just to prevent that return damage from the Blade Mail, but level 4 Battery Assault will kill you regardless.
So Burster feels like they are the ones getting the kills now. Yes, Awake got like 2 support kills earlier on as well, but killing a Crystal Maiden and a Disruptor, I wouldn't call that a massive accomplishment as Slark. Well, they get Crystal Maiden, so like I said, probably not an accomplishment. They also get a tower though, so that's a hell of a lot better.
So just slowly starting to chip away at these structures are Awake, and their lineup is really good at like killing creep waves, but they're not really good at killing towers. In fact, Slark is probably the only one who can do it, and even then he doesn't really do the most damage, especially when he's going to go for a BKB build straight after the Blink Dagger. The right-click damage for Awake as far as killing towers is going to be very slim, and that holds true kind of with Roshan. The Venture Spirit is only level 6 right now, so the ability to kill Roshan is extremely limited. So that's things that are going well for Bursters, that right now their Shadow Fiend has enough farm to be pretty effective, and the Viper is working with that mech, and that Hand of Midas has been here for quite a long time. So even though they're up against so many Blink Daggers, it's still not really too terrible for them. They just have to worry about this Tinker, who is going to get fairly out of control. He has a point booster already.
So we got the correct statistics now as well. It's 65 and 75% for each, and to be honest, having both of them on the same team pretty much with such timings for Blink Daggers, theoretically, statistically, it's nice, but Burster, they have the mech now as well on the Viper. He's pretty damn tanky. He will get jumped anyway. Will the Finger of Death be enough? If he gets the mech off, I think he's gonna be fine, and they're gonna leave E and B. Now the hookshot into the Tinker as well. He cannot blink anywhere. Blade Mail activated. No more March the Machines. Noxum trying to mana drain. It's gonna help out a tiny bit, but they lose 2 heroes. And Burster, I mean, just minute by minute, it's looking better for them.
Yeah, that was very fast initiation from Awake, but it was a very slow kill, mostly because of these couple of trees just blocking out that vision. So Burster, of course, as soon as you get linked in like that on a hero who is going to survive that Viper, you teleport, and you teleport in as many heroes as you possibly can. So Awake, they kind of make the correct decision in deciding to back off, but it was just a little bit too late just because, well, everyone was already there. And Clockwork also teleported in first, so the Tinker was there to get hit with the hook shot. It's something that Awake can get away with most of the time, but you just can't really afford to go in that close to a tier 1 tower against the tankiest enemy. It just won't work out.
Yeah, maybe next time they're gonna either bring more firepower to make sure that the kill happens instantaneously. Then again, they didn't have even Finger of Death, so trying that was maybe a little bit too risky to begin with, but they're going for another gank. This time around, they might run into the supports and Finger of Death cooling off in 5 seconds time.
Oh, they're gonna Firefly up. They see a much more appealing target. They're gonna blink down to the low ground, leave their Vengeful Spirit behind. They'll get the kill anyway. CM is here with Disruptor. Static Storm is there, plus the Freezing Field. D.Va is barely going to get away. Maybe 11 HP gets to go. And now Eon is going to catch the cogs onto Yo2. Marks Machines is there doing quite a bit of damage to Toy. Boom, though, going to kill off one and then go straight for the other. That's going to be a double kill for that Slark. Batrider barely gets to live. Janky initiation right there as they just abandon their Venge, but it all does work out in the end. Viper, the tankiest hero, not present for that fight because he doesn't have a TP scroll.
And also, that means there's no mech in the fight either. If the Viper was there, probably at least the Batrider would have died, just because you run into the Firefly for a second as a Viper and that almost would have done it already. So, a little bit sad that the Viper didn't carry a TP scroll. And is that a pipe he's going for next with the Ring of Health? Or is he going for a Lincoln Spear maybe? No, it's a pipe. Has the cloak as well as another Ring of Regen in the stash.
It's got to be a pipe, and that's a really nice item to have against Tinker. It's, you know, also good versus Lion. The Slark does quite a bit of magical damage at this point in the game as well. The problem is that, yeah, your Viper is going to be holding the mech and holding the pipe. He's going to be very tanky, but he's also very ignorable. Like, if Awake just bypass the Viper, goes straight to the Shadow Fiend, then what are Burster going to do about that? And with these Blink Daggers, it's very easy to bypass a hero. Just blink right over them or blink around them. All these are very possible for Awake, so it's a nice item to have, but I don't really know if it's the correct item. This Viper needs more threat.
I would have expected that as well. Maybe they really feel the Shadow Fiend is gonna have enough, but having like Yule's BKB, it's not like the Shadow Fiend himself is a massive damage output. Then again, if Crystal Maiden can pull off another Freezing Field like he did in the previous fight, maybe that by itself is gonna be enough damage, who knows. But thanks to the Viper having the Midas, I guess the pipe won't set him back too far. He can still go for like a Monkey King bar or Aghanims or something after that.
He's probably going to have to go for that. I mean, he'll need a lot more farm if he wants to go for, you know, so many big ticket items in a row. Especially now that the push train from Awake is really starting to get going. It's only tier 1 tower down towards bottom lane, but Noxum is perfectly hidden right now. And Burster will probably not find this line until it's too late. They will move in, thinking about defending their tower. Noxum, though, he has an angle right now to go for the supports in the back, and that's what the Lion wants to do. He sees the CM maybe in range. No, not quite. Everyone else is leaving, so Noxum's going to have to leave as well. But either way, the tower has been taken. Burster can't really do anything in response. Travel in, actually, Toy. Okay, got to be careful about that as a Tinker.
Yeah, and it's not like he blinked out immediately. He even went for the heat-seeking missiles beforehand, but does have a blast on finish, 22 minutes in with a blink Boots of Travel, considering the nerf to that March of the Machines. And he didn't even farm up the jungle all that much, thanks to the Batrider clearing off most stacks. Noxum though, he is so close to Ian now, just needs to start with an Earth Spike and they could get the kill, but he's waiting for the blink. Toy keeping back home. I guess they don't want to go for the kill after all, or I don't know what they're waiting for. Batrider also creeping closer, slowly but surely. I'm not too sure if it's just wasting time or genius ganks, I don't know.
Dude, they'll get there eventually. They just have to slowly assemble everyone with their Blink Daggers, and then they're going to pull the trigger. They know that the Disruptor is here. They also have an Observer Ward here, so they know about anyone who's going to rotate in. Tinker is going to TP in. Ian can't even kill the creep. No, it's going to get canceled. These are heroes that are just wasting time right now. Like, they're actually just doing nothing. I don't care about the Vengeful Spirit dying. I'm more interested to see what these two heroes are going to do.
They're so close. Come on, go for the kill. Now they're going to go for it. Lasso is there. Finger of Death used. Earth Spike. Just laser everything. I mean, a pretty tanky hero, but didn't even get the chance to pop the mech. Of course, Pipe is still finished, so we got to purchase that one up before the death as Slark finds himself a Crystal Maiden. So I guess in the end it was somewhat worth it. Mid lane now, Clockwork in some trouble, Boom comes in as well, Pounce completely off target, but look at the burst damage anyway. It is so massive, Blade Mail did help out, and now the glimpse onto Slark will save the Clockwork's life.
Or will it? Missiles forward, 80 HP, he lives. The laser got fogged. And Tinker, well, he's going to chase forward for more. Doesn't expect there to be an additional target. Here comes the Requiem, which will insta-give that Tinker. Boom, though, with the BKB will tank through it. He will have to fall back regardless, though. The Shadow Fiend saved the Clockwork's life there, just adding that secondary target for the missile. And you can't really control the heat-seeking. It is going to let the Clockwork slip away. And they also get a return kill on the Tinker, who at this point is fairly dangerous. Has gone for a very threat-light build, though. Going for a Bloodstone, Blink Dagger, Soul Ring. Like, these are all good items to have on your Tinker. But are they actually better than going for the likes of Ethereal Blade or a Dagon?
Yeah, ever since E-Blade got changed, I guess that's like not the favorite build anymore. Might be Bloodstone into Hex, for example. Just getting those perma hexes going, which definitely isn't a bad thing if you can get it, but the Dagon, like you said, it's just threatening a little bit earlier on. Especially with the E-Blade being there together with the Lion, but mid lane, Boom does pounce out, even activates the Shadow Dance. I guess didn't want to get glimpsed back into a Static Storm or Kinetic Field. Yoto though with the Invis, he sees Crystal Maiden. They could go if they really wanted to, but they don't have Shadow Dance anymore.
Well, they have Finger of Death on Lion. He's right around the corner. Ian is tanky enough right now with 2 parts of his Aghanim Scepter to just tank through it, and maybe he has Blade Mail up, maybe he doesn't, so they're going to decide not to go for that. And, well, they'll just back off and try to protect this Tinker who's slowly pushing the bottom lane. At the same time, they have to defend their mid lane. Ian is tagged up with some tar, and they will start the defense. And you gotta remember that Tinker. Haven't seen him in quite a long time, but it's really damn hard to push into a Tinker. They need the pipe for this, but can they actually kill off what they need to within the duration of 1 pipe before the March of the Machines sets up for a Wake to initiate? That's a very thin timing there. Brester, they're gonna kill the tower, then move down towards the bottom lane, where Lion is still sticking around.
Well, he does have a blink, but yeah, now he sees, I think, as well, the Dire Strike coming. Never mind. No, he doesn't. The smoke is there still. It's even a Tinker there. That's 2 huge kills, but I don't think they saw the Tinker. Maybe they did. They're pinging it out. They're gonna come towards the bottom. Knocks him in. Some trouble. Rocket Player does blink out of it. Hookshot, maybe random one. It's gonna connect as well. Oh god. Knocks him. There's no escape. No force def anymore. So they get that kill. Tinker doesn't cancel his TP in, but will blink out. So it's a support kill. I mean, not bad for Burster. At least they get something out of the smoke, but Awake, they were farming at least 2 lanes at the same time.
Yeah, that was a pretty good move by Burster. They put down a sentry, saw the Observe Ward, but instead of just instantly killing it out, they knew that someone was there. So they stuck around for just a little while longer and then got rewarded for it. Janjan, though, up towards top, might be on the receiving end of a lasso. No, just a flame break to pop a BKB. Now that's efficiency right there. That's 8 seconds, or 9 seconds rather, down the drain for the Shadow Fiend. So that's probably the best flame break you'll ever see.
Yeah, he was so scared about the just follow-up jump in there by really anything, and considering the amount of blink daggers Awake has, there's a high chance that you don't see the heroes, but they can still get to you. Of course, Lion was dead, probably maybe the scariest follow-up, apart from the Tinker as well, possibly. Then again, I'd be a little bit more worried about the Lion jumping in than the Tinker at the moment, to be honest, because Lion, he has disables as well.
Yeah, he has a ton of burst damage, and he'll lock you down so that his allies can come in and also do their damage. And then he will drain your mana just for BM purposes. But yeah, that both heroes, all the heroes right now on Awake, are just so threatening with their Blink Daggers. Like Slark going for that BKB after Blink Dagger, very defensive, but then he already has a Sanjin Yasha at this point because of course, the 714 score on him. This is quite a bit of gold for a Slark, and this is even a Slark that hasn't gone for Hand of Midas. He's now going to jump to the Roshan pit, and Burster, well, they're all occupied up on top lane because of Tinker split pushing everything. And this is when the game slowly gets to be a little more difficult for the Burster side. They have to worry about a full effect Tinker who's going to be jumping all around the map, pushing all the lanes simultaneously. At the same time, is just not dying because the only way you have killing the Tinker is with the Clockwork.
Oh man, this Roshan is going so damn slow. Even have some minus hammer, but it's only -3 and he's not using it again. There it is. Finally gonna speed up the process a little bit, but there's no medallion, only level 1 wave of terror. In the end, they will do it. Rocket Flare scouts things out, but it's just too late by now. Maybe the best Burster can hope for is get the tier 1 in return, but Toy has arrived. Level 4 March of the Machines, level 3 rearm as well. So there's gonna be lots of March, and are they gonna use the pipe to maybe secure the tower here? Sure, looks like it.
Yeah, they tried to, but the tower's going to be fortified, and Tinker is going to re-arrive. he just has to make sure that he is not going to get hook shot. So they know exactly that where the clockwork is. They know he's in the area. You have to make sure that you don't get hit with that. Boom's going to jump right in, though. Going to go for Jan. Pops BKB immediately. Boom, though, is in a little trouble. Has that Aegis regardless. Going to pull back onto Disruptor. Trying to kill him off with Static Storm, and it will be successful. Ewan going to get hook shot in, but he gets swapped right into Nox, and he will go down. Lots of heroes on Awake, very, very low. Boom still fighting it out. Is going to get the kill, then loses Aegis. Viper CM, the only ones alive right now for Burster, and they're going to face up against a full HP Slark with the Blink Dagger. They're going to chase forward for Ian. Spike is there. Missile, laser, everything in the book is going to kill off the Viper as CM somehow is the only one to survive. You never see CM as the only one to survive, but either way, Awake, clean house. Although that was very, very close on many, many fronts.
Yeah, that's suddenly a basher face than the Slark as well. I mean, Aegis definitely gave them the advantage to have the Slark be in the front lines like that. He even did use the BKB before losing the Aegis, but it was definitely worth it. And Crystal Maiden now, he does go down. Toy gets him in the base with the Dagon level 1 as well, which he got just before the previous fight, I believe. So in the end, it is kind of a team wipe anyway. Dagon level 2, the threat levels are increasing on the Tinker, and all in all, one Awake in general.
And sequencing of his items is not going to be hurting him too much because he has gotten so many kills. Now has 10 Bloodstone charges, and well, he has infinite mana, and you can do quite a few things as a Tinker with infinite mana. So he's going to be upping that Dagon, and then maybe he's going to go for that Sheep Stick you mentioned before. But either way, Burster now has to focus the Tinker a lot more, have to worry about a Slark in their face. And yeah, there's just way too many threats that are way too spread out on the Awake side for Burster to effectively take these fights. Their AoE is decent, but the Freezing Field, Requiem, you have to land them perfectly, and that is almost impossible, if not completely impossible to do. So Awake, they have complete control of the map at this point. All lanes are going to be pushed, and Burster, they're just going to have to find an angle that the Clockwork can hit the Tinker with a hook shot. Then they could do something.
Oh god, it's going to be so hard to get that angle as well. There have been quite a couple of nice hook shots from the Clockwork so far, so he's definitely capable of getting the angles there. Also, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier once he gets the Aghanim Scepter, or at least, well, maybe getting the hooks isn't going to be easier, but he's going to be able to attempt it a lot more often, let's just put it like that. Because he's only like, what, 230 gold away from the Aghanims being finished. So not going to be that bad, but for Ian on the Viper, is it the game when he's even forced to go for a BKB, and if he goes for a BKB, it's just going to have so many defensive items?
You really don't want to go for a BKB at this point as Viper, because you already have that pipe and a mech, so you're like, okay, I'm already very resistant to this magic damage. I don't want to be getting resistance and then complete immunity, because that's kind of redundant and not in a good way. But he kind of does. Like, there are so many forms of magical damage from Awake. Eventually there'll be hexes on the Tinker, and then your pipe isn't really going to do jack. So this is probably just going to be a super defensive Viper game, which is never really what you want to be doing with the hero. And you never really want to be holding like more than 3 defensive items on any hero, just because you don't do anything afterwards.
Oh god, it really feels like it's going to be a tough game for Burster to win from this point onwards. They still have decent late game, but it's not like they have massive late game. I'd favor Awake there just because they have a freaking farm Tinker. For one, Slark also being farmed is definitely a threat, but it's just, like you said, at some point, Tinker is going to get the text later on. Probably will finish the E-Blade as well at one point in time. Racking up the Bloodstone charges also, more mana, more regen. Everything is going their way. They're always going to have that massive initiation from the Batrider. Lion as a support, he really doesn't fall off just because Blink Hex is that good of an initiation method.
And if you could spike 2 heroes, then you're going to be feeling really good about that initiation. Not to mention the ability of Finger of Death to kill more than half of most of the hero's HP pool, Clockwork being the only exception, and he's a Blade Mail, so you're probably not going to be using your finger on him anytime in this game. So Lion's packing some serious heat right now, and that's just the support, whereas you compare that to the supports of Burster, they have, well, almost the exact same build, and that build is not really going to be too threatening. They need the Static Storm and the Freezing Field to land on like 2 or 3 heroes, but with so many Blink Daggers, the positioning of Awake is almost always going to be better than the positioning of Burster.
Well, Awake, they didn't run into the problem of getting lots of Blink Daggers early on and suddenly not being able to fight. Just because Bursters, there haven't been too many fights where they're properly been there as 5, and now even if they are as 5, they're so far behind by this point. I mean, it's almost 14,000 in net worth, XP 14,000 as well. Earlier on, just everything started going really bad for them ever since that one fight where the Viper was not present.
Yeah, so what can they do in order to redeem that? I think they just need more damage at this point. Like you saw in the last fight in the top lane, that everyone on Awake got away with like 100 HP or something like that. If you have not these defensive items, if you have just a little bit more offensive, you'll be able to make those trades instead of just you dying and the enemies barely getting away. So they need a lot more time, but I don't know. Awake have so much farm and they know that they're ahead that I don't think they're going to easily let Burster get that time to farm up. Like the Shadow Fiend is a Yasha, but aside from that, he's also gone for pretty much a fully defensive build.
And it's just, I mean, what are you gonna do? It's all well and good because you need BKBs up against Tinker and, well, not only Tinker, just the entire lineup. Okay, so statistically there's a 4% chance of winning. That
You're feeling
is
lucky?
low.
Hey man, sometimes those 4 times out of 100, you'll win the game and you'll feel amazing. You
I mean,
never know.
Awake, they are 25 times more likely to win this game.
Hey, when you put
Almost.
you can just like, keep rephrasing the stats all you want, but Burster, they're not completely out of it. This is where they wish they had a Spectre instead of a Viper.
Probably. I mean, then again, the Spectre would have gotten epically wrecked on the lane.
Hey, we don't think about that, man. We just want to swap the net worth of
Well,
Viper and Spectre
probably
right now.
wouldn't. I guess he was up against the Batrider, so it wouldn't have been that bad considering that the Disruptor and the Crystal Maiden were close by. But yeah, it's just Spectre definitely. At least it would have some like future prospects for the team. At the moment, it's like, oh yes, our Viper is gonna get more farm. Yay! I mean, Viper can be scary as well for sure, but I mean, it's just him and Shadowfin both having a rather defensive itemization so far. If one of those had any kind of damage items, it might still be fine. Or well, it can still be fine, but they're gonna have to get to the next items before.
Yeah, man, that 98 damage on the Viper, 30 minutes in the game is going to be huge, especially when you compare it to, you know, the Lion who's doing 102 a hit. Sounds great on your, you know, I guess position 1 core hero when he's being out-damaged right-click wise by a random support on the enemy side. Not to mention the Slark who's doing double that. So you have a Viper who's doing half damage of his supposed counterpart. Yeah, he's really tanky, but Slark is rather unkillable as well, although for different reasons.
Yeah, he just went too far with I can't do damage when I'm dead. He just took it to the next level, unfortunately for himself. It's just you won't do any damage, but you'll survive, or well, you're not even gonna survive just because everybody else is gonna die around you probably. They are going to try and defend this though. Monster Machines, a couple of layers are running, but Ian himself is fine. Dagon is upgraded to level 3 though. Vengeful Spirit, he is God knows where, but they don't really need even the Vengeful Spirit to be there in the fights for them.
Yeah, a little bit of minus armor, having that swap is useful, but they're powerful enough they don't really need it. Ian, he's tasked with defending this bottom lane. The rest of the team is right behind him. But Awake, they don't really have to fully commit to this because they have a traveling hero. And that hero is going to bounce right up to the top lane where they see a Shadow Fiend. This should be a BKB popped. He's going to pop that BKB, set up for the Requiem. Rest in peace, Lion. No, he's going to mess it up. Lion gets to live for a little while longer, but not that long. He's not even going to try to force staff away. Gen going to die, though, to the nuke damage combo of the Tinker. In the meantime, tower does go down. Lasso onto Ian. Boom is right there with the right clicks. Ian in quite a bit of trouble. Here comes the Tinker up from the top lane. Static Storm is going to hit him on arrival, but Ian just doesn't have enough damage to fight this out against 3 heroes. He did next to nothing to Boom. Now Boom's going to charge forward. He's going to jump into the cogs, which caught the Disruptor as well. There goes one. Ian also going to get bashed down by Boom. One more hit's all they need, but a hook shot out might keep him safe. Laser, though, won't keep the CM safe. That's a triple kill for Toy. The secondary missile also killing off the clockwork there. And Awake only lose their Lion, who probably could have gotten out of there if he knew he had a force staff. But yeah, now everyone on Burster is dead. That 4% looking a little bit slimmer now.
This would be the point for me when I'm just like hands off the keyboard. It's like, screw this guys, we lost boys, we lost. Especially since Boom went up to 4k gold. That's gonna be Abyssal Blade, I can only assume. D.Va is gonna even have a BKB on the Batter to feel even just more safe, no glimpse to even stop him. If Disruptor was close to an Aghanim Scepter, it would be a little bit better because then Slark can BKB in it or something like that, but he doesn't even have one component towards it. Their supports are just so damn poor, both the Crystal Maiden and the Disruptor, and Well, if only it applied only to the supports, but compared to the cores of Awake, everyone is poor on Burster.
Yeah, so maybe if they did have that Spectre, then their supports would be forced to play a little bit more closer to the lane, and maybe they'll be getting a little more experience, therefore they'll have a better time. I don't know. The Viper being self-sufficient is always nice to have, but there's just like so many things that went wrong with Burst's early game. I'm just trying to pinpoint some things, and well, it's pretty much impossible to do that. They will get the jump in onto Ian, or Ian will jump onto the Lion. Finger Death will be returned by Blade Mail, but they will make an even trade in the Venge. Here comes the Tinker. He's going to do a lot of damage to Jan Jan. He's going to prep the Requiem. He will fail to do it, though. Freezing Field will also do nothing, as Ian's going to try to kill off the Tinker. He will get so very close, but not really. And now almost, or more, a little more than doubling up the kills. Awake. They've taken yet another team wipe. Pretty much the exact same trade that they just taken on the bottom. This time there's a tier 2 in their way, but I don't think that tier 2 is going to last very long.
Yeah, that was a great hookshot to be honest from the Clockwork. He even managed to get Toy in it to begin with, but well, what do you know, Vengeful Spirit, that great of a hero, just swaps him out, does die for it, but well worth it. Also, the level 5 Dagon catching the Shadow Fiend like literally a millisecond before he activated the BKB means he's low enough for Boom to just finish him up with 1, maybe 2 right clicks. And just a disaster. I mean, they're not losing Rack super fast because Awake doesn't have the greatest like building damage lineup, but god damn, who needs E-Blade? Who needs E-Blade?
He he killed the disruptor before his missile landed. Like, he pressed the heat-seeking missile, blink forward, Dagon laser, and then the missile just like was still in air and the disruptor was already dead. That doesn't seem fair, man.
It's probably not. I mean, he even went for the Crystal Maiden, although had to commit suicide, but already back up. 13 Bloodstone charges is still fine, even though he lost some of those. Finally, we do have an Aghanim Scepter on the clock, but 2 racks behind, more or less no chance to fight. D.Va goes in with the lasso as well. Dagon once again into the Shadow Fiend, Requiem of Souls. Are they gonna get kill on Tinker again? Sure, looks like it. Another committed suicide though. That's just ridiculous. Rearm should not refresh a Bloodstone.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually not going to be too relevant because when you're going to catch a Tinker, you chain stun him and you instantly kill him. But who knows, man. It doesn't matter anyway. This game is over.
Yeah, it's pretty much easy as well. Awake, I have to say, they have been looking shaky, but this game, they had a plan, they got those early Blink Daggers, and, well, maybe slight mistakes were made, but all in all, a pretty good performance by them.
Yeah, especially just having a Blink Dagger so early on Lion, I think really made the difference. They could have gotten a lot done if they had, you know, an early Bat Rider and stuff like, or early Blink Dagger on the Bat Rider on Boom. Those would have been nice to have, but having that additional Blink Dagger just made it so that they had so many more opportunities to get those early game kills, and they just snowballed away with the game from those early kills. So turns out Blink Dagger 11 minutes in on a support is pretty darn good.
Especially if the support is the Lion as well. But guys, this is a 2-game series as always with the group stages in Join Dota League. So we're gonna have one more game, and we've had so many 1-1 results. Doesn't, well, or wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we had another one. But for now, it's gonna be it for this game. We're gonna be back with game number 2 in just a couple of minutes, hopefully at the very least. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just 2 to 3 minutes.